So we'll get into, I think before we get into the votes, I know I'd like to pick up the conversation that we had in the staff meeting on Friday with respect to the owners reps. We need to, I know we blocked out some time in the calendar later this month to conduct some interviews, and we were having some good dialogue. So for the benefit of anybody that's joining us that isn't following all of the specifics about this, the board has agreed and has been working with the administration to recruit a owner's rep, and what the owner's rep is going to do is act as on behalf of the township and construction manage the project and oversee it. So we'll have this individual, this agency will come in and help us with the sequencing conversation, help us take the project to bid, and then work between the contractor, the architect, and then sort of be the representative of the township. And from what I'm seeing in these proposals, these requests for qualifications, we'll be conducting meetings with administration, with trustees, and giving the community updates. So it's our eyes and ears. It's another layer of monitoring on the project on behalf of the township. And I'd like to maybe confirm with our legal counsel, just to recap this aspect of it. We've put out a request for proposals. So the way that we draft
request for qualifications.
Well, I'm sorry, that's correct. That's actually what I meant to say.
There's
Qualifications.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then that is going to allow us to move through the process with a little more flexibility than it would be a formal proposal, because we're not evaluating the financial aspect of this, correct?
That's correct. That's correct, Chairman.
So we're at a point where we're going to be giving an opportunity for some of these candidates to interview with the town, with the board, and then we'll be making a decision who will ultimately be our representative in this. So anyway, so I know we were having a conversation, and that Administrator Rose, Hull Engineering as our contract engineer, chief and deputy chief have made a recommendation of a number of the people, and we need to decide who we're going to interview, and we'd had some of that conversation. So I don't know if anybody wants to lead off and what their thinking is at this point as we work towards. We got a list of 10.
Yeah,
So.
I think it's important. Like I said, we had 10 really complete RFQ packets for owner's rep. And for those that might not know clearly what an owner's rep is responsible for, they're responsible for conveying and protecting the township's goals, specifically for Concord here is the fire station project, okay? Station 1 and 2. They oversee the construction, sort of functions a construction management component for the project, overseeing the project, making sure that they are within budget, that the trades are doing their job that they're supposed to. There's a lot of other responsibilities, but that's what the owner's rep does. And initially, when the 10 RFQs came in, we had a board of some township officials, our administrator, deputy chief, and who else, Mr. Rose?
Bob Parker,
Yeah,
who's our
Parker.
consulting engineer.
Right, our
also
consulting
assisted as
engineer.
well.
Evaluated initially, obviously it's gonna be hard. We've all reviewed all 10 of the application, or the RFQs. Very difficult to interview all 10. So they were tasked with reviewing the packets and sort of giving us a guideline on where they felt that these RFQs that were submitted fell into a certain range. And what they used to evaluate those different companies were, one, owner's rep experience, their experience as owner's rep, whether or not they had fire construction experience and what kind of experience that entailed, knowledge of building trades, permitting and commissioning, project manager and key staff experience, location of the firm and of the key staff. So, are the project managers or people on that team, are they close to the project? Are they within the area? If they need to be here, how close can they get here at short notice? The project approach and conformance with, and then cost savings ideas, if any, were presented. Some other areas I thought were key that I sort of picked out on some of these RFQs were, existing relationships that these companies had with contractors in the area. They work with these different contractors, these tradesmen. They have relationships over a period of time, so they know how to work well together. They know whether or not these people, how did they work? Did they perform on within a certain time frame and on budget? They're whether or not they're committed to the community. When I read some of these RFQs, there were some of them that talked about watching our stakeholder meetings to get an idea of what the community input was. Some of them also talked about collaborating with the community and attending trustee meetings to sort of give updates to the community and to get feedback on the project and things of that nature. So all these evaluation guidelines went into effect as far as the initial phase of evaluating these RFQs. And after that, I think our administrator, recommended the top 4 that came into a certain threshold on the evaluation matrix. I don't know if you want me, Mr. Chairman, to get into mine specifically right now.
Well, yes, I think that's a good recap. I mean, I think we need to get into conversations. I know that I had said at the staff meeting, 3 stuck out to me kind of coming into the staff meeting, and coincidentally, those 3 were some of the ones that Mr. Rose and Mr. Parker and the fire department was recommending. Ms. Lucci, I don't know if you had any thoughts you want to throw in here as far as who you liked or the process or.
Yeah, so I think, they were all good. They all put a lot of work into the qualifications. I was looking for things that stood out, and what was important for me was finding an owner's rep who I thought would qualify as delivering on that personalized quality service for Concord Township, because this is about our community. So someone that will help present Concord community the best. So I kind of looked for qualities in each of those that I thought I would like to interview just based on what was written. Would you like me to tell you who I?
Yeah, we can get into conversation about the different. I know that. Shoot.
Yeah, so a couple that stood out for me. I actually I think had 4.
Okay.
So I really liked Cold Harbor. I liked the fact that they were local. I liked how they had, mentioned their relationships with subcontractors. I think that's very important, especially with, it's hard to get some, it's hard to get construction material. So I thought maybe that would be, kind of a good relationship. I also liked RFC. I liked how they commented on providing, community focus groups, community input. I think that's, again, extremely important. I also liked QCI. I thought that their platform or their approach to understanding sequencing is very important, and that's very unique to what we are trying to accomplish. And last, I was interested in CT's, how they sort of, they were able to complete a project during a pandemic and stay on budget, and that was very interesting. The fiscal responsibility of this is also extremely important.
Yeah, I liked Cold Harbor as well. It was one that stood out. I think a lot of this stuff, when you think about these things, I mean, there's a lot of qualified firms that presented themselves here, and a lot of them did the same thing. A lot of them with similar backgrounds. So my thought process was, hey, what stands out to me just kind of in a connection, like a culture thing? What seems like it's gonna be a fit for Concord? I definitely resonated with people that mentioned they watched our meetings, and I think one was either one of the 2 firms that I was interested in had mentioned that they looked at they watched one of our meetings, and we had listened to our conversation about sequencing, and I thought that was like, because that's one of the things that, get on board and help us out with that one, was important. Fire station experience, obviously, K2M has a lot of that. That seems to be almost a specialty. I'm looking for somebody that can, I think, be a fit with Concord, like I said, back to culture and sort of, we'll figure that out by interviewing. But it's a contrast to LeMay Erickson. We've got that relationship. We've got a very top-notch architect with a very skilled, very qualified award-winning. So I think that was a really good decision, not that we made. So this is an opportunity for us to bring something to the table. So I liked RFC. I thought their presentation was very, very professional. I did note that they had saved some substantial money, and I think that's something that would be obviously cost of a project this size is important. Cold Harbor was pretty. There's something about that presentation. It seemed real hands-on, and I'd like to interview and see if that seems like it's a fit. Again, I think it was hard to not look at the K2M for their fire station experience.
Yeah, I would agree with with the ones you and Mrs. Lucci picked. I had a harder time. I actually ranked. I liked 5 that I'd like to look at. Again, just touching on some of the things you've already touched on without belaboring it, but Cold Harbor, I liked. They're local, they're hands-on. I actually know somebody that worked on a project with them, and gave them accolades about how hands-on they were, attention to detail. They had great relationships. They collaborated well with the trades. They were on budget. When there was a problem, they got it remedied in a quick manner. So I liked that. A couple of the other ones, K2M, I like them a lot. They worked on, they have vast experience with, townships, municipalities, counties. They worked on several municipal buildings, fire station projects, police station projects, some of which, that I've been in. They have an extensive amount of experience. RFC out of Strongsville, I really liked. They have 25 years construction experience again. A lot of experience with fire stations. They did the Strongsville fire station. I've been in that facility. They rehabbed the Strongsville, I believe, the police department. I've been in that facility. City of Willoughby Fire Department. They did an excellent job there.
So, yeah, and that station in Strongsville was a headquarters station too.
Yes. They got a lot of experience with fire stations, they were, they have operated on projects going from $1 million to $120 million in a budget, and they've always seemed to stay on budget or come in under budget.
Right.
So they have a lot of experience with that. Another one I liked, my 5th one I liked was QCI. I mean, they've been in the business 35 years. They got a lot of technical staff and professionals. They worked on some local projects. They were involved in Crocker Park, which was a huge facility out in Westlake. But they've had some experience with municipal and public service entities. So I like that. There was one, I don't know if it was QCI or RFC, that also had a fire station matter expert. Was that RFC?
I think it's
Or QCI. They actually had one of their team members that was involved in, it was a fire station matter.
I think that was QCI.
Was it QCI?
Was it QCI? That's what I thought. But he actually had somebody that was hands-on with, which was a fire station project, matter expert. So that was nice to see. But they all had a great amount of experience. Obviously, I think it's going to be important for us to bring in an owner's rep that we have a connection with, that we can, have obviously foster a relationship over the years that this project is forecasted to go out, and at the same time, somebody that's able to, work well with the trades and the construction entities on the project, and able to connect with people within the community as far as what we're doing, where we're at, listen to input, have some dialogue. So, I would, my recommendation would be to look at maybe interviewing the top 5. I think it's important.
I would go with that.
Okay. So if I'm hearing correctly, then that's QCI, Cold Harbor, CT, K2M, and RFC.
Correct.
Is that correct, Administrator? Okay, and we have tentatively blocked out some time. I think, is it Tuesday next?
What was discussed at
Oh,
the staff meeting was
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 14th at 5, and Friday the 16th at 5.
Right.
I'm thinking 30 to 40-minute blocks to do the interviews.
Okay.
These will be, my recommendation is a Q&A interview. I don't think we need to have, in my opinion, and I think we talked about this during, when Chief, Deputy Chief, and Mr. Parker, we don't need them to come in and give a presentation on their presentation that they've already sent to us electronically.
right.
I think they need to come in, do some quick introductions, have some standardized questions, and then go from there.